Wondering what the F has happened to your body and your life? You're in the right place, my friend. Welcome to Season 3 of Transforming 45, where we dive into the incredible stories of how brilliant humans are navigating the midlife squeeze with courage, passion, and a healthy dose of humor. Don't miss out on any of our heart-led episodes. Hit the subscribe button, leave a 5-star review, and if you're inspired, share an episode you love with a friend. It means more to me than I can express that you're choosing to spend time here and sharing our message of midlife revolution. So let's get into it. Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of Transforming 45. This week, I am really looking forward to this conversation with Meg Joyce. She is the visionary founder of InKind Brand Design, where she specializes in designing brands from the inside out, with a unique approach that blends empathy, creativity, and strategic insight. Meg helps entrepreneurs to embrace their true passion and overcome those classic and seemingly constant, true story, business owning challenges like self-doubt, burnout, and feeling like who are they and what they want for their brand isn't enough. Oh, Lord, every single day. Meg's work is deeply rooted in the belief that brand's true power comes from within, and she's dedicated to guiding her clients through a transformative process of growing in courage and self-discovery, and then designing the perfect brand with all the tools they need to make their newly realized passion-fueled dreams a reality. Meg, I am so glad you're here. Welcome to the show. Going through your bio, I just thought, someone said to me early on, because we've talked a little bit, I'm fairly new-ish to the entrepreneurial world, and someone said it's the best professional development and therapy you're ever going to have and need. I didn't really, at the time, I heard it and I was like, yes, I can see that. But being sort of a year and a half into it now, I'm like, the way you push in my daily journal was from Chani Nichols. Nicholas. I don't know. She's an amazing astrologer, but often, so kind of structured like this. And one of the questions is always, how can I push into my growth edge today? And I was like, that's all I do all day, every day. It's just push into the uncomfortable zone. So
Absolutely.
I'm glad you're here.
Thank you. It's so funny that you say that, because we are literally always growing. As entrepreneurs, as business owners, we are constantly growing, and you will absolutely never, maybe aside from motherhood, you will never find something that pokes at your insecurities so sharply.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yeah, it is wild, but that's why I do what I do.
That's great. Well, I'm glad that you're here and we can have this conversation. And let's start with you. So tell us, who are you and how did life introduce you to this version?
Well, so I was always artistic, and then I went to college and I was an art major and sort of fell into graphic design. And I built a business and it was going really well and I felt great about myself, but I didn't feel great as a human being. But I didn't realize it. I didn't know that the business that I had built and had been growing for about 5 years at that point was making me absolutely miserable. And it wasn't until I had my daughter 2 months before COVID shut everything down that I realized, oh, this is not making me happy. This is making me actively unhappy. And it wasn't the work, because I liked the work. I liked the creativity. I liked the clients. It was that constant need to get more and more and more, and striving to the point where I was working from 10 o'clock in the morning until 2 or 3 a.m. and working for not enough money and not enough joy and purpose and all of these things. And I felt like I was just scratching the surface of everything. And I got sick and tired of it. And so, baby, COVID, my brain changed, my body changed, everything changed. And in the silence that happened after everything shut down, I knew that I couldn't keep going. I knew that I could not keep going like that. So I stopped. I literally fired all of my clients, which they didn't deserve because they were great. And I shut everything down. I shut down as a person, basically. And I needed to come back to life. I felt like I was just sort of existing in the way that one does as the mother of a newborn. And I remember feeling so sad and so isolated. I liken it to feeling like I was drowning in the middle of the ocean, just completely alone. And then one day, a friend and colleague of mine, whose name is Maura Naven, and I love her, she reached out her hand. She pulled me out of the water. She pulled me back into life and gave me the opportunity to have that experience coming back to life so that I can pay it forward and teach that to other people. My job now, instead of doing these piecemeal little surface projects, is to connect with business owners on a super deep, super personal level and help them figure out what actually makes them happy before figuring out how to build a successful business around that.
Yeah, that's a very different perspective to come from, right? Or it's a different stance to come from, because it is lonely, right? When you're a business owner starting out, it's a very lonely space. And often I find myself saying, like, I just need someone to help me. Like, show me the way. Other people have done this, and I need some help.
We just want
And
somebody to tell us what to do.
yes,
The irony of becoming business owners so that we can be our own boss, but it's so overwhelming that you just want somebody to tell you what to do.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. It reminds me every day about the importance of community and how essential that is. And I think that that is one of the things that really came to light for people during COVID. And yet there's a lot of really interesting resistance to coming back to community. And I was at what day is it? It's Thursday. Not that that matters. On Tuesday, I was at in the town where I live. There's something called Choir Revolution, where you just go out and there's a song that you sing and learn, and then you perform it at the end of the night. And super fun, super fun. And that it happened to be Alanis Morissette that week. Yeah. So we did You Ought to Know, which was singing all these harmonies to You Ought to Know. I was like, oh my God, my teenage self would never have imagined this. But
that's awesome.
So amazing. And we sang a whole bunch of other songs. And it was that sense of joyful community coming together, but it's been a slow rebuild. And there was a woman there from a group called like Millennials Connect or something along those lines, where her work is actually encouraging millennials to come out of their homes and come together in physicality, in physical places. And I'm just wondering, like, how do you see that? This like tension between this deep desire for community and at the same time, my perspective is unresolved trauma around the pandemic that we never talk about, that also is keeping us separate and afraid.
You know, I've never thought of it. I've never thought of those two things together, because as a millennial myself, when you said, you know, getting millennials to come out of their homes and be a part of a community, my body went like, oh, we don't do that. We don't like that.
Mm-hmm.
But it's true. I will say that my village of business besties is the best kind of community that I have ever been a part of, because we all come at it from the same vulnerabilities, from the same heartbreak. We all share this sort of not wound, but we all
Mhm.
share this hardship and the immense joy that comes from owning a business and having those small wins. And I think, as a mother, it's hard for me because maybe it's because my daughter's not in public school yet, but it's hard to even find a community of other parents who aren't constantly working. Because when
Yeah.
I'm working, they're not working, or when they're working, we're all just busy. We don't have time for our children in the way that we used to be able to because we're so busy working and because we don't feel like we have people that we can rely on. And it's incredibly isolating. And especially, as women, as moms, as business owners, we feel like we have to be so strong.
Yes.
We can't show any weakness because that means that we're failing. Nobody was ever meant to do this much.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody was
Correct.
ever. Nobody can succeed at this. So we all just hide behind this pretense of, I've got it all. I've got it all put together. But the reality is, we do need each
Yes, we do.
other. We need companionship. We need people to lean on. We need to be able to vent. We need to be able to be sick and be allowed to rest. And you don't
Yes.
get that by being alone.
No, absolutely. You do not. And there's about four different themes that are like weaving together in my head right now. So please be patient with me as I as I pull out the questions that go with it. And you're saying things that go so deeply to my core. So I was in university in the 90s. I graduated in 2000. So it was a long time ago now. And um, I have an applied health sciences degree with a specialization in therapeutic recreation. In that degree, in the 90s, we learned about how damaging it is to live the lifestyles that we are living and the over programming of our children. And I think, and so it has been it's a thing that really like lights me up because I'm like, seriously, people, we have known this, and that research that I was learning in the 90s was from the 70s. So, this is not new information, people. Like, can we please just like dig into this and really pay attention to it? And I think that it's the same conversation when we talk about ourselves and expecting so much of ourselves and constantly being, I've talked about this a lot. Like, I'm Gen X, but we still have that same call of success is that I'm so busy, right?
Mhm.
That's the response we give people. I'm so busy. And I try not to do that. Every once in a while, it still slips out, but I do make a conscious effort to try not to answer a question of how are you with that response. Um, but what we are modeling for our kids and our own belief that this intense busyness is what means we are successful is what's creating this like continuous loop of expecting so much of ourselves, and then we expect so much of our kids, so then we put them in too many things, which only adds to the amount that we're expecting of ourselves. And our kids are watching this right from the get-go going, oh, well, this is what it means to be a successful person.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So my daughter is in no activities, which is great. She's 4, going on 15, as
Yes.
one would expect. And she just loves life. She just loves to play, and she's got all these great ideas, and we dance, and it's wonderful. And I remember at one point my aunt, who's a retired elementary school teacher, music teacher, she said to me, I said to her, I want Haley to start learning how to play the piano because she loves just playing on the piano. And so I asked my aunt if she would teach my daughter piano. And my elementary school music teacher aunt said she will have her whole life to be in classes with letter plus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
And
love her.
that is something that as adults we don't do. We don't play.
Yes.
We don't play. We don't rest. We don't play. The fact that we don't have community, part of that is that we don't allow ourselves the time. It's what you were saying. It's the, oh, I'm too busy. I can't do this thing because I'm too busy. What is?
Yes.
Nobody's that busy.
No. And I think you just brought up something really important, and I think it's a really great opportunity for self-reflection, is to just start catching yourself in saying it. Like when you notice yourself saying, I'm so busy, maybe not in the moment, but just like catch that you said it. And then when you have a moment at home, instead of scrolling on your phone, think through, what does it mean to me to be busy? Why is that my response? Why do I feel like it's the response I should give? What does that actually mean to me? And is that what I want?
I
Right?
love that. Is phenomenal. I I wholeheartedly agree. And it definitely comes back to that experience that I had of going from all things to all people, constantly bending myself backwards and in all kinds of different shapes to try and just make other people like me and want to be around me and hire me to do work, to realizing that this is my one shot at life. And I still overcommit, and I still work myself too hard, and I spend way too much time disassociating on my phone. But it is so much better than what it was.
Yes.
My life now, we spend so much time disassociating, whether it's, finding the mundane tasks that we can just make ourselves busy with, or scrolling through our phones, feeling like it's better than resting because at least it feels like we're accomplishing something. You're not accomplishing anything.
No.
Rest would be the accomplishment. What we have to do is we have to take all of the stuff around us, which is hard, take all of the stuff around us and just take it all down to the bare minimum. What is the bare minimum that you need financially to survive? What is the bare minimum that you need in your work? What is the bare minimum that your children require of you and that they need for their lives? And then fill in the rest of the space, or don't fill in the rest of the space, with things that are based in joy.
Yes.
Because anything outside of those bare essentials should feel like life.
Yes. Yeah, because life actually isn't work. And I think that's where we have gotten ourselves, especially in North America. And this is going to be a little giveaway as to when we're recording, but I've been listening to the speeches from the Democratic National Convention, right? So, and I'm a Canadian, so but we still have skin in the game because what happens in the US has ripple effects and impacts on us and the rest of the world. So I pay attention. And there's so much that I love. So there's two things that run through that I have been seeing like pop up throughout our conversation. So I'm going to talk about the one that I want to challenge first, and then the one that I just think is so deeply powerful. And the theme that I want to challenge is exactly what we've been talking about, and it's fundamental to North American culture, which is why it's such a big lift. But you can hear in all the speeches, hard work, hard work, hard work, hard work, suffer, 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 suffer. And then there will be joy. Right. You're shaking your head, which I appreciate.
Right.
I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Nobody knows if tomorrow's I understand that on a global level. I understand that on a national level. That makes sense because we're working as a collective.
Yes.
And this is something time will outlive us all. Me in my own life, in my work as a business owner, in my existence as a mother, as a spouse, as a daughter, all of these things, I don't know if tomorrow's going to happen.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So that's one of those things that I know millennials are not unique in this, but we definitely were raised to understand that you work super hard and then you get to retire and enjoy your life.
Mm-hmm.
And then in 2008, huge financial crash. Our parents were devastated, and retirement all of a sudden didn't really seem like an option.
Mm-hmm.
We learned in that moment, maybe just don't work yourself to death, because I don't know if I'm going to live to the point of retirement. I don't know if I'm ever going to be able to retire.
Mm-hmm.
Let's be honest. I own my own business. First off, I don't know if I'm ever going to want to retire, because I don't know I don't think that's a part of who I am. I just have that itch inside where I want to do. So we'll see. But also, I don't know that I trust that there will be financial resources from the government. I don't know that I will be able to build the kind of financial resources that I will need in order to be able to afford to live at that point. We don't know what cost of living is going to be. I have a cousin. This is a weird story, but I have a cousin who he's Gen X, and he decided from a very young age that he was going to take his retirement while he was still young. He followed the Grateful Dead around the country for like a decade.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, this is my retirement. And when I'm done, I will work. And so he does. He works now. He intends to work for as long as he needs to survive. But he didn't wait. Why wait until we're older to have satisfaction?
Yes.
Because we don't know what's going to happen.
No, absolutely. And that is so true. And yet we live our lives like we think that we do, right? And that I think it is such an important conversation to really start having on a regular basis around living now and not waiting. And people who listen to my show will know this, but my mom died at 52. She got cancer in June and was gone by October. And she was the most vibrant, healthful, powerful woman that I knew. And she was destroyed by cancer in 3 months. And I was 30 at the time, and I had an infant and a toddler. And so it was really hard. And it taught me the lesson right then and there of you are not promised forever. And it was at that point when I started asking the questions of how do I really want to live my life? Because I don't know what's coming. And my dad was diagnosed with Parkinson's about 8 years after my mom passed away. And he at 72 is living a life I wouldn't wish on anyone. And so it has been very powerfully in my face all the time of you choose to live now. And one of the things I'm coming to learn about myself is that that makes me a bit of a like mirror. And so a trauma activator for people around me, because I have made choices. Like the reality of my life right now is that we have, we were talking about this a little bit earlier. So we sold our cottage. We are selling our house. We are moving. Both of my kids are headed to university for the first time in the fall. And some of those are legitimately financial choices that we had to make, because I left a career that was very stable with a very good income. And now I'm an entrepreneur and I'm trying to figure it out. And I haven't made an income in almost 2 years. And so we've had to make some choices that are hard, and maybe not necessarily what we wanted. And we finally get to live with a little bit of freedom. I was like having a meltdown in the kitchen last night, and my husband looked at me because there's so much that I'm managing right now, right? Like I said, I'm managing my dad's care. Just, it's a lot. And so I was having this meltdown, and my husband looked at me. He's like, I need you to hear me. And I'm not doing this to tell you what to do. I just know that sometimes you need to hear this message. You don't have to work so hard right now. Actually, you don't have to work at all until we get through this. And going back to that conversation we had before about that like message of constant driving forward and constantly needing to do that message, while I both needed to hear it and it still is hard. Like I could feel it bouncing off my shields, even though I know it's the truth. And it is what I'm going to have to do because I can't keep doing what I've been doing.
No. I think the thing that really sticks out for me there is a lesson that keeps coming back to me over and over and over and over. So maybe someday I'll actually learn it. Is that when something, you said it's bouncing off your shield. When something makes you angry, when something makes you respond, sit with it because it's probably true. And recognizing you have made life choices. I have made life choices because of my family going through the financial crash in my first year of college. All of these things, my world that I thought was so sturdy just crumbled. I realized I don't want to be the classic American thing is to overstretch yourself because you have to live like just barely within your means. Realistically, you're supposed to want the bigger house and the bigger stuff and the 5 cars and all of these things because that's what shows people that you are successful. That's what shows people you have value. From 2008 on, I understood I'm not going to live outside of my means. I'm going to make sure when my husband and I bought our first house, I made sure that one of his paychecks covered all of our bills, which I didn't have control about how much he made. So I had control about how much we spent. And your decision to sell your house and sell your cottage and move makes perfect sense to me because it frees up the ability for you to breathe and to take the time that you need. We are all in charge of our own lives. We are all in charge of our own decisions. And, this comes back to a thing that I tell my business owner clients all the time. You do not have to make decisions based on what you think you are supposed to want or supposed to do or what other people are doing. Make decisions based on the life that you want to have.
Yeah, and that's so important. And I think whether you are an entrepreneur or whether you are in a career or whether you are a younger person who happens to be listening to this, who's thinking about a future career. And that's something I think about a lot now because, the young humans in my life are all sort of headed in that direction. That is the question that you really want to be asking is how do I want this life to be? Not just the work component, because it is if we are lucky, it is a long life and there is lots of time for all of the things, and having hope and joy throughout all of it is actually what it's meant to be. And so that was the other thing that I've been hearing in what you've been saying, and that also connected back to the DNC, is that the themes of hope and joy, and how when you actually commit to that stance, it actually makes huge change, right? Like if you think back to the end of June, early July, this deep sense of hopelessness that I feel like the world was sitting in. And with the shift of one person, that's the other thing that I think is so powerful is that, yes, she's got a huge machine behind her. Like, I'm not denying any of that. There's a massive machine. And the shift in tone and tenor of her leadership changed everything. And we often disparage hope and joy and all of that is like, oh, well, that's nice to have, but it's not very effective. Like, look out in the real world. Yes, let's do that. Let's look at the real world and look at what the impact of hope and joy has done.
Yes. Yeah. In my business, one of the things that has always felt really important to me and has been a through line in all of the over a decade that I've been doing this is, so my business is called InKind Brand Design.
Mm-hmm.
Kindness. My mission, my internal mission in my business is to prove that you can be successful in business, not in spite of kindness, but because of it. That kindness is a strength in the same way that hope is a strength and joy is a strength. And these are muscles that exist inside of us that we need to exercise. We need to work them. We need to recognize the joy around us. We need to be grateful for the opportunities for hope. We need to focus on the good because pessimism is so much easier. And it is toxic.
Yes. And where has pessimism ever actually gotten us?
It's maybe kept us alive. It's
Yeah,
a
maybe.
handy survival tool from primitive life where, the bad thing is probably going to happen because you're either going to be alive or you're going to be dead. And that's it. There is so much gray area.
Yes.
I don't need to constantly be looking for the other shoe to fall. I don't need to constantly be waiting for the bottom to drop out, which is a lesson that I am still learning. We all have our own histories, our own traumas. It is a tough thing to learn. When you're driving on the highway and you're thinking about red cars, you're going to see a ton of red cars because you get what you look for. If I go out into my day expecting that I'm going to have a bad day and people are going to annoy me and things are going to go wrong, then yes, I'm going to have a bad day and people are going to annoy me and things are going to go wrong. I can have the exact same day. I can have the same things happen to me. And I can choose optimism. And my experience of the day is completely different.
Absolutely. And that really connects nicely to what you were saying about hope and joy being a muscle that needs to be flexed and trained and practiced, especially in this time. And I think it's part of why when Michelle Obama said hope is making a comeback, it just like reverberated through my whole body.
Yeah.
Because, well, one, she's such a badass. God, to have an ounce of Michelle Obama. And it reverberated because I think we have experienced so much trauma. And I feel like I beat this drama a lot. And I'm going to keep doing it until we finally really have the conversations. But there's been so much trauma in the last decade. And we have, because we just continue to like push it, it's behind us, it's behind us, it's behind us. That means it's actually standing in front of us. And we have atrophied those muscles because we've been so living in fear and scarcity and worry. And the retraining of our brains around it's okay. It's okay to let ourselves, actually, it's more than okay. We need to. We need to,
yeah.
right? Like going back to that experience of being at the choir the other night, it was so full of joy. And that's what happens when humans come together to do something that is playful. Again, going back to what you were talking earlier about playing. That is where we need to really focus right now, is bringing play and fun into our lives. Because when we have that at the center, it ripples out into everything else.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Imagine who we would be and where our lives could have taken us if our parents had modeled for us joy and
Mm-hmm.
play and living in the moment, as opposed to pushing us to the side and saying, I'm busy, or I'm working, or go entertain yourself.
Mm-hmm.
I I look, and I do this all the time with my daughter. I don't give her the attention that she wants from me because I don't really know how.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But I am working so hard in my job and as a mother to engage in creativity, because for me, creativity is play.
Yes.
And you
Yes.
can see I do creative stuff.
Yeah. It's
It's
beautiful.
I encourage business owners to engage in creativity because it helps us to shake loose some of the constraints that we've put on ourselves. I I want to know what future generations will look like when we choose to focus on hope and joy and passion and self and community in such a holistic and wonderful and meaningful.
Yes. It's a really beautiful vision when we think about it that way. And I also hope that you can give yourself a little bit of grace, because like, speaking as a mother who's a little bit further down the road than you, I tried to have a balance of both things, of spending time with them, of playing together, but also of letting them do their own thing.
Yeah.
And um, that is really important. And there's so much myth, especially in motherhood, right? Like, there's a lot for dads too. I'm not going to deny that, but I can speak really clearly from my own lived reality. So that's what I'm going to do. And there's so much pressure on moms to be all things, to be omnipresent, present for your children, to be successful, to have your body and your face and your clothes and your home all look away. And the thing I I think my kids would say is the greatest gift is, one, just being there to love them, right? Like, knowing that you are their safe, soft place to land no matter what is the most important thing. And the independence that they get from also knowing that, like, you also have you are also your own person on your own human journey, and you need your own time, means that they see themselves as independent humans on their journey as well. And my oldest son, in March of 2024, at 19, went off on an independent solo European journey. And he traveled all through Europe from March until the middle of May. And it was the most incredible thing. And he was able to do it because he had those skills. He knew that he could do things on his own. And when he came back, I asked him, I was like, so what was the biggest learning from this experience? And he said that I can do anything.
Oh my God, I love it. That is so perfect.
Yeah.
Good job, Mama.
Oh, well. Okay, I'm gonna do what I tell other people to do and say thank you. Thank you.
That's amazing. That is amazing. And I also feel like that kind of encapsulates all of the things that we've been talking about, because this whole story that you just told about about women in particular. And again, that is our experience. So we'll speak to that. The understanding that we're supposed to want to be things, and we're supposed to do things, and we're supposed to. The hardest thing that I think we will ever do, and the best thing that we can do for our children, is to stop and figure out what we actually want for ourselves.
Yes, that's it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a
I
revolutionary idea.
imagine that. And it's really hard. I do this all the time, and I help clients with it. I do it myself, and it's still really hard.
Mm-hmm.
I can do this for other people all day long. It is so hard for me to do it for myself, because it goes back to that thing, that internal, well, okay, so if I'm just getting joy out of this thing, how can I make it productive? I talked to somebody who, she loved doing calligraphy. And so during the pandemic, she wanted to have this extra income. So she started up an Etsy shop, and she was doing custom calligraphy. And now she hates calligraphy.
Yeah. Because it becomes work.
It becomes work. We don't have to take the things that we love and turn them into work. We can take work and turn it into something that we love. But we're also allowed to just do things for the sake of doing them. We can exist.
Yes, we can just be. Absolutely. So, how do you take all of this beautiful thought and energy and work with the people that you work with?
Well, it starts, the transformation that I take people through, I liken it to the transformation a butterfly goes through.
Mm-hmm.
Because we start out as caterpillars. You know, Lisa, that you have been in business, I think you said, for 1.5 years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you're definitely in the caterpillar phase. You're
Oh, yeah.
learning all kinds of things. You're consuming, you're engaging, you're growing, and everything is exciting and new. And there's going to come a point where you're ready to transform into something different, something sort of the more embodied 2.0 version of who you are now and what you're doing right now. And that's really scary. I remember when I got to that point resisting wholeheartedly, because I was adamant. I worked so hard to get myself to this point. I was going to stick to my guns and do this thing the way that I was doing it, even though it was killing me. And it doesn't have to be killing you for you to get to the point of transformation. So in that caterpillar phase, I invite people to engage in my brand growth incubator, where they can find healthy ways to grow and better understand themselves inside of their businesses. They use art therapy and self-discovery and courage building to help people work through all of the emotional stuff that happens in business owning, because it is super emotional and super human. And then from there, once you are ready for that transformation to start, I invite people into the cocoon, which is brand alignment. And it's interesting, when you look up what actually happens to a caterpillar inside of the cocoon when it's becoming a butterfly, it literally dissolves into goo. And the goo is made up of what are called imaginal cells. So I like to invite people. I am the cocoon. I am the hug. I am the weighted blanket. I am the compression. I am the comfort. And inside of that, you get to break down into whatever your most basic level is and become pure imagination and opportunity with all of the lessons that you've learned as a caterpillar. You get to imagine a new and more hopeful and brighter and stronger and bigger, joy-driven future for yourself and for your brand and your business. And when you're ready, I start to build the wings. That's my job. My job is to design the perfect wings for your brand so that when you break out of the cocoon, you can fly further than you ever imagined possible. A brand is not something you outgrow. Your logo, your colors, your fonts, style on the outside. I don't wear the same things that I did when I was 16. Nobody does. But your brand is your soul. Your brand is the soul of what you do. For me, my soul, creativity, kindness, and problem solving. Those things have been true for as long as I have been alive. And they will continue to be true. The wings that I build you aren't just about the external visual stuff. It's about figuring out, in the cocoon, we figure out who you are so that when I build those wings, the colors might change a little bit. The spots might be in different places. But the wings themselves will not change. They will grow with you for the duration of your brand.
That is really beautiful. I just keep having the imaginal cells, right? How it, every once in a while, no, not every once in a while, almost every day, I'm like hit by the incredible genius of this strange earth that we find ourselves on. But it is remarkable, right? That a creature can dissolve into goo with cells that imagine and then have it come out as something so incredibly new and different. And that does really make me think of you and the energy that I feel from you and the energy that I'm sure you share with your community. So thank you for that beautiful visual of imaginal cells. Somehow I can work that into the title of this episode in a way that's meaningful. We'll see what I can do. But thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with us today. This has been such a lovely conversation.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much, Lisa, for having me on. I love you. I think you are phenomenal. I am so grateful that you are creating this space for women to talk about really hard things in our lives, because it is hard. It is hard, especially when you feel like you're alone.
Yes.
So creating this space for us all to feel less alone, for us all to feel seen and heard it is so important and it is so valuable. And I am very grateful. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Thank you for being part of the Transforming 45 community. Your support means the world to us. Stay tuned for more juicy episodes and remember to keep showing up to your life with the love and magic you deserve. Until next time.